Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Sheena. I come from MEC Wavemaker. For those who don't know what MEC Wavemaker is, it's technically the content division of MEC, the media agency from Japan. So now I'm just going to manage a couple of expectations from all of you. Nick has said that I will tell you how to build your own asset. Technically, yes, and a little bit no. It's more about I'm going to give you an insight on how to actually maximize your platforms. You are creators. I'm pretty sure experimentation is one of the things that you actually do, the first thing that you do. So I wanted to make this worth your while. My headline was about platforms and publication. And what we're going to go through is basically this. I'm going to introduce myself. That's one thing I learned from Neil. I'm going to make a sympathetic character before I tell my story. It was a beautiful first day. I learned a lot. It was really exciting. And one of my biggest fears was actually when I talk about content marketing funnels, I'm going to lose all of you. So I'm going to try my very, very best, sympathetic character. And then I'm going to talk about Wavemaker and how we approach things. Platform overview, visual principles, content, ecosystems. And don't worry, there will be doodle breaks in between. And I'm a huge believer in doodle and muscle memory. So I'm going to incorporate that a little bit as we go into the content marketing funnel. So I'm a creator first and a marketer second. The way that I started in advertising was I was actually a suit in BBDO Guerrero. I come from the Philippines. And for some reason, I love writing briefs. Because the challenge to me is that how can I minimize the questions that my creatives or my clients will actually come back to me when I give them the brief. And for some reason, even if the hours were shitty, sorry, it's Sunday, I'm not in church, I decided to be a creative. And when I was creative, I started writing commercials, thematics, taglines. It's more fun in the Philippines. I was there, and then I became a digital producer. For some reason, as I go down to this funnel or this weird wormhole of a journey as a creator, I decided I wanted to be the person responsible for it. So I created websites, I created mini-series, I created all of these things, along with engineers, developers, creators like you guys. So I feel I'm a creator first. And afterwards, I went into MEC Jakarta and I was a digital lead. What a digital lead basically was the first 3, was all of that in 2 years. And that's what I got for saying yes for a very obscure title, digital lead. And no offense to MEC, that's my company. And then now I'm here as a content lady. I am going to be a mic hogger because I know that it is early on a Sunday morning. And in a sense, I want to make this worth your while. So do forgive me. So I'm going to try, this is me as a person, I'm going to try to make you laugh at least once, whether I'm under-caffeinated or over-caffeinated. And I know Nick is going to be very scared with the timelines, but I'm going to try that. And the last one is that I'm a doodle evangelist, and the whole point of that is because a lot of these workshops actually go over your head. And one of the things is I'm not going to ask you to do eye contact, though I appreciate it. I see a lot of eye contact now. Is that doodle something so that your muscle remembers and you remember something from me. And I'd be very happy to see you guys do that. Okay, so what about Wavemaker? Basically, MEC is that this is our core proposition. We call this the momentum wheel. It's basically made up of 4 components: passive stage, trigger, active, and purchase. Nick was talking about journeys. How do you then kind of incorporate or formulate journeys in building your assets? This is the core proposition from our agency. So let me explain to you how it technically works. Some people call it the purchase journey or the consumer journey as well. That passive stage is basically this moment in time where you don't have a need for anything. So for example, I do yoga now, but there was a time before that I heard my friends do yoga, heard yoga. Everybody was telling me to do yoga for some reason. I was like, yeah, it's fine. But then I got a free trial class, and that was the trigger. I suddenly became into the active stage, going to yoga classes, seeing other people, and then suddenly I wanted to buy a yoga mat. And the first thing that I remembered that popped into my head was Manduka, which is a yoga mat. And then I went and purchased it. Another perfect example of that is my MD, Mike Jackson, was also saying his journey in terms of diapers. So as a dad, I guess like the male population here could eventually go into this. You don't have kids, you don't know anything about diapers at the passive stage, but you know diapers exist. And suddenly you have a baby, and when you're in the supermarket, what is that reason that you suddenly thought about Pampers or Huggies? That is what we believe as a passive stage bias. That is what we believe as first impressions, even when you don't need it, and then suddenly something happens and that's the first thing on your mind. So this is the consumer journey that we allow. So how is that relevant to content? You then map out what kind of assets will you make available to your consumers at a moment in time during the different stages in their life. Whether they have babies or whether they're planning to have babies or have no babies at all, you kind of maximize all of the assets that you have. And this is our Wavemaker approach. So there's a lot of text here, but we basically have a nickname for it. It's called the 5D process. The 5D process basically talks about discovering, design, develop, distribute, and all of that is supported by data. And basically, discovering is what you kind of learned about yesterday, which is about building insights, building the consumer in your mind, and all of that insights. But we are going to touch up on that. I think Jonathan's going to talk about SEO as well, and we believe that also triggers insights into discovery phase. Come down to design, develop, and distribute. Basically, this is identifying the platforms. This is also kind of in combination with the creative ideas that you have. And then lastly, when you develop all these ideas, you then distribute. This is basically our approach. But since I only have 45 minutes and it's a Sunday, I'm going to hijack this presentation. I'm going to call it content with a purpose. To me, it's an honor to be in front of you, so I'm going to make it worth your while. We're going to answer together 3 questions later on, and I wanted to start this with a story. Okay, I have a question. Does anybody know what this video is? Yeah, all right, so 90s references from Neela's side, right? So this is the guy who's faking to be, he's basically reversing the psychology of vegans and vegetarians. And when I was creating these slides last night, and I was thinking about platforms, I actually thought about my yoga friend called David. Surprisingly enough, they kind of look the same. He just doesn't have the headband. And David, like most yogis have, is that they've gone into this journey a couple of years back that they've created their own platforms, they built their own sites, and they created all of these classes. And in a conversation 6 months ago with a couple of friends, they asked him, hey David, I mean, how did you do this? How did you become so popular? How did you suddenly charge people for so much for an hour of your time? And this is what he said. Get online right away, go on, all that's free. And I was present in that table, and this was my internal reaction. I was like, whoa, hold up. Because I do not disagree with experimentation. I do not disagree with being out there. I totally am for online presence. But again, when we look about content, your audience is smart, so you have to be smart on how you then suddenly build assets for them as well. Okay? So these were the 3 questions that we'll answer together. Where is your starting point? What do you want to say? And how do you want to say this? Managing expectations, guys. You already know how to create the ideas. I'm just making sure that when you push this down to the content funnel, is your message still the same? Is it going to be different? Are you keeping the integrity of the ideas that you have? Okay. So, where is your starting point? Basically, there's so much that's going to happen. You have Instagram, you have Facebook, and all of that. And we call that your content or your digital ecosystem. It can be ecosystem in general, because you have some clients that might have brick and mortar stores. We call that an ecosystem. I don't want to get lost in the sauce, but that's how I call it. And ecosystems can be this simple. You have social media, target marketing, maybe a brand site, and then SEO. It could be this robust. Company website, video optimization, social media, crowdfunding. This could be your ecosystem. It can also be this, which is beautiful, but very, very intimidating. So again, we go back to David and his story. Like if he's gonna go online, get all that's free, kind of have to ask the question, why? And what is the purpose, right? So content with a purpose. So I feel that the perfect starting point actually is this. is what your consumers see. So coming back to it, Wavemaker actually believes that everything should be thought about and sit in one house. That's why we talk about SEO. That's why we talk about content. We talk about media. Because we can optimize how to build an asset by understanding each and every milestone of the consumer journey. And we're going to start, at least for today, we're going to simplify the ecosystem to something that you all see and I see before I go to sleep and wake up 2 in the morning. I think my boyfriend's gonna, find a bit of, he's gonna say no, but the truth is, the first thing that you actually see in the morning and say goodnight to is your mobile phone, and your consumers as well. So let's go with that starting point for a moment, okay? And in that, you have a couple of platforms that are there. I'm gonna place YouTube down on the side for a little bit because I'm gonna basically shortlisted this with multiple components. It has messaging, it has content, it basically is a connection tool. So you have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and then for a bogey here, I'm gonna put your own website, whether that's your portfolio site or etc. Now I have a question. Do you know what the purpose of each and every platform is? To a user, to a brand marketer? Can anybody try? Sorry? Spam. Well, to him, it's spam. Yeah, that's actually true. Sometimes, yes, I go off on Facebook. When people ask me that question, I kind of gave the blanket term of connectivity, get to talk to my friends. But actually, if you know the platforms intimately, they have their own purpose. And then it kind of leads you further to the answer of where and how you can build your asset. For Facebook, it's about discovery. A lot of, I'm pretty sure it changed. 10 years ago, you would say, oh, I read something in the newspaper, I read something in the article. Now everybody just accepts the fact that, hey, I saw it on Facebook, must be true. But it is about discovery. That's where you learn the news about today. I'm not sure about the people who still read newspapers, but that's where I get my news. And I read the whole thing, promise. And when it comes to inspiration, it is about Instagram. And it's really interesting to see that everybody understands the collective wavelength on Instagram. Execution might not be there. Some people, don't know how to use hashtags or put spaces in their hashes, but technically, everybody kind of has this collective wavelength on how to approach Instagram. It's very interesting on an aesthetic standpoint. And then you have Snapchat. Snapchat technically is not here for brands yet, but that hasn't stopped people or brands to actually be in the space. And it's all about expiration. It's about in that moment. If you miss that moment in 24 hours, you're gone. And for the people who are creating it, it's not gonna last them, a grainy video is not gonna haunt their portfolio. And then there's Twitter. For me, Twitter is about wit. It's really interesting to see when I ask people what they use Twitter for at the moment, because a lot of marketers actually see that Twitter is going down. Do you agree? Yeah? Yeah, so a lot of my friends will be very happy. Some people, very niche, they're turning into a very niche network, and the only reason I stay is because there are still some witty people there, but you're not getting most out of it. You stay because your friends are there, and that's it. You don't see any other experiences for it. And then, of course, your platform is your name card. Now, you kind of have a more intimate understanding of the platforms. How do you then decide to measure? What metrics do you suddenly see? Is it shares, likes? Snapchat is just a bit of views. You can count the many times people screen cap it, I guess. Tweets, for the moment, clients still think trending is a really huge thing. It gets budgets approved, so I'm not going to say no to that. And then there's traffic on your website. And this is basically a simplified version of how I would look at KPIs. So this is your first doodle break. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. But basically, I want you guys to draw a person. Your target audience is 20 to 29-year-old female, white-collar worker. Even if it's a stick figure, guys, it's fine. But the extra thing that I want you guys to talk about or to put in there is give them a name, give them a hobby, give them a preference of Snapchat. If you say like Facebook is spam, then what does she like? And we'll do a minute of that. I just want you guys to kind of see from a consumer perspective how they see their platforms. Because as creators and as marketers, we kind of get lost in the sauce again that everything is on Facebook and we should be on Facebook. But let's reverse it. How do you as a consumer look at the platforms? Well, if you're still doodling, that's fine. If it makes you listen to me more, it's fine. We'll go on to the next one. So the second question that I wanted us to answer is, what do you want to say? Again, it's not about finding that creative idea, because I'm assuming that you guys already have it. But after the brief, after I heard you guys interrogated each other yesterday, after you had all of those questions, how do you take that information? As Nick said, you had 800 words, 2 pages. How do you then transform that into a content marketing plan? This photo is about BJ Novak's book, which is the book with no pictures, as you can see. Is anybody familiar with this book? No, it is. Well, actually, this book is actually very interesting because it's a children's book. And it's a really ballsy thing to do because kids like photos. But BJ Novak wanted to show the power of words, and that's what he wanted to say. If you open up the books, it basically has words that don't really spell. It's like, that's basically like what the book is about. But he was very clear that he could entertain without words. So what do you want to say? Everybody knows what this is? Everybody has had an experience to approve it? It's basically a version of a content calendar. I got this from Google. It's not official, guys. I'm just saying. You can Google content calendar and you'll see everything. So when it comes to what do you want to say, again, those 800 words, are you doing justice into them? My clients and I actually agree that content calendars are great. They're great organization tools. But if you're facing multiple executions from brand A to Z, a content calendar is actually a crutch, because you just say, okay, brand A Tuesday, brand B Monday, etc., etc. But are you actually drilling down to what you want to say? When you're building an asset, do you then define that within these, blue is for Facebook, and then we just say this and we repeat the same thing for Twitter? My question for you, is it still a compelling story? Is it still a compelling story when you do it on Facebook? Is it still a compelling story when you do it on Snapchat? That's one thing that I'm asking you. Okay, then the next one is that I'm pretty sure you guys see all of this. Work hard, dream big, QOTD, KOTD, and all of these things. And as we go back to the trends that are happening on Facebook, this is one thing that companies and creators kind of face. Is that because if you go back again to the brief, if the brief was talking about 20 to 29-year-olds, communication objective is get more out of the workday with a vitamin drink, and you want to drive trial to the product, but you thought your consumer was all about inspirational messages and motivation, are you actually saying what you want to say with this creative? So is it a compelling story that's relevant to your brand? And part of building the asset is that, especially for example, Facebook or YouTube, you get to experiment. But the question is, are you utilizing it for your brand very well? So doodle break 2. Draw a key visual. So your target audience is the person that you created. She can be your imaginary friend today if you want. And the client is Peppermint Patty. Core message is, perfect pecan pepper pies are deliciously handmade. And the objective is increase sales of the pecan pepper pies for festive season. So I'm not going to give you any clues on what platform you want it to be, because the core message has to be format neutral. If you already have a target audience and you know how she is, and this is technically the client brief, how do you then marry your knowledge of platforms and target audiences, put it down? Okay. So how do you want to say it? So this is actually where I get to the third question. Is this the only time I'm going to check Nick's request for me, which is about building the asset. I'm not going to tell you how to open up a WordPress site. You guys already know that. But I do want to tell you how to approach this. So there's a funny story that I wanted to share. I was watching Indiana Jones on the way home because it was a 2-hour flight and I could watch it. And I was almost down to the ending when suddenly the PA system says, It stops the whole movie when I was about to learn something that was just really integral to the plot, and the PA system was like, ladies and gentlemen, the duty-free will close in 10 minutes. Please do your shopping now. The thing is about that, I was like, oh my God, I hate the Singapore Airlines for that moment, because it was very, very annoying, because I was really, really into the message. And one thing that I guess I want you guys to take away is that, do you want to be the disruptor of what people consume, or do you want to be a part of it? And actually, everybody in this room technically has this answer. My whole content division is actually existing because of this premise. Because every brand wants to be a part of your normal consumption. They don't want to touch you guys with ads anymore. And as creators, you're giving them ideas into how you tell their stories through video, editorial, Instagram. See, Nike has done this. This is Margaret versus Lily, which is a web series, and it's a tale of two sisters. And they basically are talking about competitiveness, teamwork, and all really pretty Nike products inside. It's a web series that I think is 8 episodes, and has kind of the girls writing into the execution. Another example of this is for Fruit Water, where all the characters are actually representative of the flavors. But this is something I'm more proud of. This is closer to home. This is what we did for Scoot, which is the airline, and we did this actually with B&M. We wanted to be a travel show that talks about Stretch Absurd. The objective was to actually show Singaporeans what you can actually do in Australia. And instead of doing promotions and all of these things, we actually created a format with B&M to suddenly have challenges, and these two hosts basically would either take the stretch route or the splurge route. This episode started as webisodes, and they had a chance to air. And this is the business that we are in now. We're in the business of being part of what people want to consume. If your target audience is about traveling, inspiration, you kind of create content that reflects that. But there's one thing that I want you guys to come back to if we're talking about mobile, is its thumb-stopping power. So I love this phrase, but I can't take any credit for it. It's actually from our friends on Facebook. When it comes to thumb-stopping power, the principle is simple. Is that when you're scrolling on your phone and you want to be a part of that, are you making the most of people's time? Because you're getting away of babies, man. You're getting away in the way of cats. You're getting in the way of idols. So are you taking that piece of the mantle, and when you build your platforms, are you actually maximizing that time on the feed? See, this is a very interesting image. There were studies across in Facebook that the first thing that people actually see is the image first. If they're interested enough, they will then move down to copy. If the copy still retains their attention, they will move up to the brand. Sometimes you don't even remember who the people are going to share, but what they shared, right? And then the last thing actually is then metrics, like, shares, and comments. So when you're talking about platforms and you're looking at your approach, you have to still look at quality and not really just for the likes and the metrics. Go back to the purpose of Facebook, which is about discovery. I'll show you one video. It was very interesting.
I'm proud to be English. My family have served and we've defended this country and we've been to war for this country.
I'm really patriotic about Bangladesh.
Well, I am 100% Icelandic, yeah, definitely.
This is a Kurdish wedding with my mom in the traditional Kurdish clothes.
We're just proud black, so that's it.
Yeah, I think we are probably the best country in the world, if I'm honest.
Think about other countries and other nationalities in the world. Are there any that you don't feel you get on with well, or you won't like particularly?
Germany. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Germans.
You might think they're a little bit...
Particularly India and Pakistan, probably, because of the whole, the conflict.
Because I have this side of me that's like, that hates Turkish people. Not people, but the government.
But French?
No. We're just the best, it's just fact.
I'm more important than you. I don't know you, but in my opinion, I am strong and I am more important than a lot of people.
How would you feel about taking a journey based on your DNA?
Yeah, I feel very intrigued.
What could you possibly tell me that I don't know?
So do you know how DNA works? So you get half from mum and half from dad, so 50% from each of them, and they get 50% from their parents, and back and back and back. And all those little bits of your ancestor, they filter down to make you, you. I need you to spit in this tube for me. You spit up to the little black line.
That's a lot of spit.
Right, the story of you is in that tube. What's it gonna tell me?
It's gonna be, oh yeah, you're French, and wait, your grandparents are French, and wait.
100% Bengali.
Solid Iraqi. I'm Cuban.
You're gonna tell me that I'm English, like I've told you.
Jay, can you come down and join us?
I'm a little bit nervous, I have to say.
So you ready to find out your results? Will you read it out to us, please?
Wow, look at me.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Shit, I didn't expect that.
All of them.
Whoa! No, no.
Caucasus, which was Turkish?
Yeah.
Eastern Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece.
I'm 32% British.
What?
Great Britain, 30%. Can we 5% German?
I'm Irish.
Yeah.
So I'm a Muslim Jew.
Great Britain, 11%. Are you sure these results are mine?
Eastern Europe?
Iceland has definitely moved closer to Europe now.
I'm gonna go a bit far right now, but this should be compulsory. There would be no such thing as like extremism in the world if people knew their heritage like that. Like, who would be stupid enough to think of such thing as like a pure race?
In a way, we're all kind of cousins, in a broad sense. In a much more direct sense, you have a cousin in this room. Turn around and guess who it is. Waj,
Yeah. What's that?
why don't you come down here and meet your cousin?
God, this is our best.
Did you know that?
I didn't know I did. This is like, my heart's pounding right now, I swear to God. We met.
I'm Jay from everywhere by the reason this.
I'm a real man of the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you.
So would you like to travel to all of these places?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, amazing creative, right? Did anybody pick up that it was a travel ad? Momondo is actually a travel company. It's kind of like Scanner and all these things where you have like car rentals, etc. Really great piece of creative. If this sat on YouTube and you were on, you were there and you're an engaged audience, or you're in a workshop forced to see this because I'm here, you actually pay attention. But that's not the case for most consumers, right? Imagine this was on Facebook. Really teeny tiny. Nothing in that ad actually talks about what it is. There were two key visuals that I felt if you brought that out and you looked at it in Facebook or Instagram, it would have made the story compelling. Could you guess what in the video that was it? It would be the graph of the DNA. But technically, this is how Momondo chose to push it out on Facebook. And they had subtitles, but yes, the subtitles were teeny tiny. So if I was going to choose this, it would kind of look like this. Don't really get what people are saying. And that's when we say, and when I looked at this, and when I kind of gone back to Momondo, they had so many pieces of content. They had individual interviews within the site. They had this really great 5-minute piece. I don't know if you felt that it was 5 minutes or a bit longer, but you guys were engaged and it was really good. But the circumstances for each and every platform might not be the same. Right? This was on my Facebook feed for about 2 weeks and I keep seeing it. And finally, while I was on the train, I was able to watch it. But are you gonna wait 2 weeks? Or are you gonna cut up that great piece of content, throw it out, the third party, I'm not saying you're gonna pay for it, throw it out and then draw them back into your asset? It's a way and approach of creatives, it's a way and approach of platforms as well. Okay, doodle break 3. Remember that thing that I asked you, which was like under 60 seconds, I was gonna ask you for a key visual? Put a frame, a mobile frame on it. Does it change? Will how you suddenly talk about that product change? And what's the key action do you actually want people to be in that platform? Okay. Now, this is what we've had, like, these are the questions that I've been posting for the past, I think, 35, 40 minutes. So I still have 5 minutes, right, Nick? Is when we're talking about where is your starting point, building your asset, target audiences will always still be there. When you receive your brief, you always ask this question. And what do you want to say is really more about staying true to that great communications objective that you finally interrogated your clients for, and are you staying true and maximizing that across all platforms? And then what's the ideal format that this message will take? Okay. So we kind of came full circle. We're going back into this question is where is your starting point to bring your brands closer to consumers? I mean, this is kind of slightly different from what you expected from the way that Nick set this up, which is about building the asset. But there's one point, and I think there's multiple point of views in terms of building that one asset. At the same time, knowing intimately the other third-party assets, if you will, third-party assets, to then bring people into your core asset. If it's YouTube, if you're all video creators and it's YouTube, are you just gonna sit in that space? Or are you gonna use your content to actually guide them back in? And where are you gonna use it? Is it gonna be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat? So we talked about the purchase journey, right? And when we present to clients, it could be something like this. Your starting point, it could either be in Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and search, and you want to push them to one thing. And let's say it's a shopping cart to simplify everything. And then you finish. You assume that the consumer journey is just going to be this. Every channel throws it to the shopping cart and it's done. We all know that's not true, right? I've seen a lot of videos about comparing how men and women shop. Like the guys just pick up a on the clothing rack and they go into the shopping cart. When it's a girl, she goes back, she goes in, she goes this. Technically, when you consume content, it's the same for everyone. You don't immediately see a promo code and go, oh, let me go to Momondo and then I'll buy. That's not true. You actually consume pieces of content, maybe one eye is looking there and you're crossing the street. So when you look at purchase journeys, it's not the same. Sorry, there are purple lines that are supposed to go crisscross. And then something, maybe you see something in out of home, and maybe your mom said something. Factors change. So the question is, if this is the purchase journey, if this is the consumer journey, how do you maximize your content in your platforms to guide them through the action you want them to take? So this is the last doodle break. You got your target audience, key visual, key platform, maybe transform that into mobile or not, up to you. Now the last thing is that how do you see content in the following? Does it change? When it comes to search, are you gonna even do anything? And advertising is still gonna be the same. Do they have different purposes? Do they all exist in your ecosystem? You can come back and tell me, no, I'm just gonna be on Instagram and that's it. I'm happy there, I'm an SME, and I'm good, and good for you. But some brands want to be all out there. how do you orchestrate when you're creating assets? How do you orchestrate your content pieces? Okay, time's up. Now I guess I want you guys to see your doodles or your little notes and see the journey from the target audience to the key visual to the format and then suddenly the ecosystem. And I want to bring your attention back to this. We actually hijacked the 5D process in those 3 questions. And what I wanted to say is that this is what we do for clients, and we spend days and days here. But when you approach an asset, the minute that you know and you maximize the knowledge of your platform, doing the 5D process is actually very easy in a sense that it organizes your thoughts. It also gives you a way into building your assets, just as long as you know who your consumer is, know what your platform can and cannot do. So if we're talking about YouTube, you can't technically say do GIFs in that feed. You have to do it in Facebook. And this is actually what we've achieved today. I mean, if you doodle in your head or you doodle in your notebook. Okay. So there's one last question. I'm just checking all the boxes of the outline Nick gave me, and it's about search and metadata. Jonathan is gonna talk to you guys about that. But I have a question on, does anybody own a blog or know or have executed a blog? Don't worry, okay, cool. Yes? At one point in time, live journal, it's okay. So this is one premise, and Jonathan can correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the things that people think about when in terms of search is the scientific thing. What you can do as a creator is to actually provide enough breadcrumbs into the consumer journey. So my question to you, are you filing your names right? When you upload, that's just one thing, Jonathan. When you upload something on your blog and it's about India, when you put on your feature photo, what is the file name of the feature photo? Is it photo 1? If you get it from Facebook, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like this huge file name. Okay, that's one trick that I want to show as a creator to you guys. Search works in that way as well. So when you upload media and you upload content, you have to name things right so that people can find you. Not necessarily based on the headline that you've created, but if I search beautiful India skyline photos, I might be led to your blog. That's just one way of looking at search. Hope that was slightly correct, but that's the practice that I created. That's it. Thank you.